What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. It's good to be here with you again. I was back, then I was gone, then I'm back again, but I'm back for a minute. Back for a little while. Through what month is it? November? Through most of November. I'll be here. It'll be just like before. I can change, baby. I can go straight. What's up, everybody? It's good to see you. It's good to be here. Answering your questions about happenings in the world of FPV. Any good news out there? Any good news? Ooh, I got good news. Let's see if I can. I didn't prepare because, you know, why would I do that? But. Where am I going? I'm looking for the Caddx store. Check this out. Oh, hang on, wait, where's my? There I am. Hello. Yeah. So when Caddx released the Protos FPV drone kit, one of the things I said, I was like, this is interesting, but it's hard to recommend because there's nowhere for you to go to grow if you get into this kit. I said, if you're gonna, as a beginner, people were like, well, it's just for beginners. Yeah, but as a beginner, you want the money you spend to be able to sort of parlay that into something more. You don't want to buy a set of goggles and a controller that are just go in the trash when you're done. You know, even if there was no money, there's the question of e-waste, I guess. And so I said, until there's a set of goggles and, you know, like a video transmitter you can put into a drone, I wouldn't buy this. And Caddx, did they announce this? But then products. Oh, so they announced it, but you still can't buy it. Well,
no, it's there.
There it is. There it is. Okay, cool. I was gonna say if it's you never know with Caddx. Sometimes they do crazy stuff. They announced the Ascent goggles pre-sale and the Ascent Lite video transmitter kit. And so I would like to be clear that while I was working on my video, I did ask Caddx, you know, will there be more? And they said, yes, there will. And again, it's like, it's so frustrating because the messaging is sometimes like, they didn't say, yes, in 2 weeks, we will release these goggles and this video transmitter. Right? Although if they had said that, I'd be like, oh, 2 weeks, huh? Oh, we'll see. Because like so often deadlines get missed in the world of FPV. But they were like, yeah, we're gonna expand it. I was like, okay, well, okay, that well, you said a lot of things in the past that some of them were true and some of them weren't. So like, who knows, right? Honestly, I would have made a lot of sense to release the goggles and the Ascent Lite kit at the same time. At least release the pre-sale at the same time as the Protos kit, just so like, I don't know, just thinking of myself as a reviewer, I could say, hey, and you can buy spares if you need to. It would have changed my review. Maybe not radically. The other thing I'll say is, well, the price of this video transmitter, $36 for a digital video transmitter and camera. First of all, it's inconceivable to me that that's a sustainable price, that's actually profitable. I mean, if that was an analog video transmitter and camera, I would be impressed with the price. So like, that has to be some kind of promotional pricing, right? If they're just going to sell this thing at $36 forever, okay, that also would have changed my review. A little bit, at least. Because like, you're like, oh, why are you going to release a whole brand new system? Why would you do that? And they're like, well, it'll be less expensive. And I'm like, okay. But if it's going to be this much less expensive, well, okay, maybe for somebody, this is the right choice. That's radically less expensive. Yeah, Blunty, go ahead.
I would like to remind people that, you know, when the Avatar system came out, they did a $199 deal, and that was the VRX and a VTX with a camera. So
yep.
You have to consider that, like, these are almost certainly introductory prices.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, you know, maybe if this is going to be 36 forever, it's definitely not. I mean,
there's no way. There's no way.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to happen. I suspect this will go up somewhat substantially, but even then, it will be not even close to the cheapest digital thing we've seen before this. So
how do you mean?
Like, it'll be way cheaper still than the cheapest digital thing, unless they
that's right. You know right. I mean? Even if they cheap. like
we'd be having the same conversation if this came out at $50. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, if they double the price to $70. It's still a pretty good freaking deal. You know?
Yes.
And the goggles, $150 for the goggles. So, like, goggles L.
I will.
Walkstale goggles L. Are they actually $68? That doesn't seem right. $240 is the U.S. price. If you're outside the U.S., that doesn't seem possible. $200 from Caddx. $240, that's about right. That's actually a little less than the tariffs are. $240, $260 in the US. So yeah, it's $50 cheaper. That's actually yeah, $200 to $150, $50 cheaper. So that's actually not that big of a discount. Don't know, but and if that is also introductory pricing, which maybe it isn't, that seems like more like inline. But so anyway, as a responsible content creator, I feel like I kind of wish I'd known this stuff when I made the video, because now the video is going to be out there. That's the problem. The video that I released is going to be out there forever, and it's so important, vendors. It's so important that, and won't someone think of the poor content creators, but I'm thinking of the viewers. I'm thinking of you guys. It's so important that if you're going to give a product to somebody to review, that they have the information, that there's not this critical piece of information that 3 weeks after the review comes out that would affect the review, right? Because that video is going to be out there forever, and it's going to say, well, there's no goggles and no video transmitter, so I don't know if anybody should buy this. 2 years from now, someone's going to think about, oh, should I buy this? And now, granted, should you be watching 2-year-old videos? Because the content changes, the technology changes. I don't know, but like, it bugs me. I wish that they had released this stuff the same time as the Protos, so I could have taken into account when I did the review. It probably would have changed, maybe not radically changed, but would have changed my opinion of the system. And it has changed my opinion of the system today. I think that the fact that the Ascent Lite is still, it's okay for micros, but like, you wouldn't put it in a 5-inch. You could put it in a 5-inch, but the range and penetration is really more appropriate for a micro. The latency still has a lot of improvement to go, which probably they'll improve that in firmware going forward. Who knows? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But at least it's a concrete step toward a sustainable standalone system, as opposed to sort of a dead end beginner kit that has no spares, and that is significant and deserves to be acknowledged, and I'm acknowledging it now. So, any comments about the Proto system, the Ascent system, before we move on? Plenty.
A lot of people think it sucks and they wouldn't get it for free. Like, there's a lot of comments, or at least a few people that are like, but I'm sure all these people have not flown it. They've just seen reviews about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as someone who's flown it and made a review about it, I mean, do you really think it's like feasible entry for new pilots?
So here's the thing. For a beginner, I would teach a beginner how to fly on this system. If I'm trying to think of the perfect person to use this system. Let's say that I had a junior high school class of kids that I wanted to do drone stuff with. I wanted to have them fly an FPV drone, right? Maybe this could be argued to be a cost-effective way to kit out the class. Yeah, let's say I desperately want to do it with digital and not analog, because I just do. And the reason I picked that as an example is, as soon as you get 20 to 60 hours of flying, depending on how, for a bunch of 14-year-olds, it's going to be 15 hours of flying or less. But as soon as you get enough flying that you start kind of going fast and doing tricks and pushing it a little bit, I feel like the latency is going to just destroy you. And you're going to be like, oh, this is no good. But if all you were doing was slow beginnery stuff, it could work. If the only thing you wanted to do was slow and precise indoor flying, no freestyle, no racing, I'm just going to kind of creep around and look around, and I don't know, maybe you could use this. $35 for the video transmitter is kind of compelling. But in short, the problem is that almost everybody is going to quickly or already be at a point where what you want to do as a pilot, you're going fast enough, and the latency was the range was okay, but the latency was just an absolute deal breaker. And I believe Madstech has tested the latency and found it to be higher than reported, which was in the past, Walksnail and DJI, when they report latency, it has always been tested to be fairly accurate. Both Ian Madstech and Chris Rosser have tested the latency of Walksnail and DJI systems, and I believe, my memory is that they were fairly accurate to what they were reporting on screen. DJI, of course, stopped reporting it on screen. But the Ascent system, to me, felt way more latency than it was reporting, and I think Ian validated that. So, yeah. What about fixed wings? Again, I think the latency is going to be less of an issue for a fixed wing where you're not doing proximity stuff. But I think the range may be an issue if you're, depending on how far you want to go.
Just to be clear, like Naifu says, the range sucks. The 04 Lite and N3 are way better in every way and not that much more expensive. So there's two things about that. They are definitely much more expensive. 04 Lite is 109, so it's like 4 times the price of the VTX and camera. Okay, for the VTX and camera, the goggles are what is 229 versus 149 right now. Yeah. So that's not true. But the other thing is, like, part of the reason we're discussing this stuff is some of this stuff may be more difficult to get in the next year or two as the DJI ban kicks in, the FCC starts banning products, new things don't get approved, stuff like that, right? So that's another reason we're considering this stuff. And also, like, we're talking about a cheap entry for pilots who would be considering analog, right? So we're looking at analog box goggles and cheap analog cameras and VTXs. And if you compare the prices to that, right, they don't want to make the step up to N3 for $110 VTX that's going to break when you crash it really hard, like the lights do. So I just think there's a lot more to consider than just like, it's so close to screw Caddx. I think it's another step in them competing and trying to do something. And they could just not produce these if they didn't think they were going to be, they didn't want to get somebody in a new ecosystem and produce a set of products for FPV. Like, we don't like Caddx for the way they communicate and some of the choices they make. But again, they were one of the people who pushed DJI to make the Lite. I truly believe that. I do not know if DJI would have made the Lite VTX if we had not had Caddx competing before that.
I mean, obviously, no one can know what went on in those meetings in the DJI offices where they made those decisions, but I absolutely think that's true. And you could also point to some of the firmware changes that they made, like support for the INAV OSD font, and some of the other changes that they made. I mean, arguably race mode, So I heard a really great interview, and I'm going to try not to go off on a bunny trail because we've got a bunch of other questions to answer, but I heard a really, really great interview with Cory Doctorow this week. If you don't know who Cory Doctorow is, he is a amazing author. I think he would probably be insulted to be called a pundit, but I think he sort of fits that mold a little bit in that he doesn't just write, but he also advocates. He works for the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which, if you know who the EFF is, they're a big deal and a big advocate for people's rights on the internet and privacy rights and so on. And one of the things he talks about is the way that users get locked into a platform, and then once the users are locked into the platform and can't leave, the business, when a platform first starts, it has an incentive to do very, very user-focused, user-centric things. And they attract users because they do things that are good for the users. And then as they reach this critical mass, they reach a point where the users are kind of locked in, and there's this big, like, why are so many people still on, why am I still on Facebook? Like, I don't really want to be on Facebook, but like, there's so many like little reasons, like, oh, my sister's on Facebook. Oh, all of my customers contact me on Facebook. Oh, this one local Facebook group of all the parents in my kid's soccer team is on Facebook. And so, like, because you can't get everyone, and everybody would like to leave Facebook, but everybody else is on Facebook, and so we don't leave. Like, you get locked in, and once the users are locked in and can't leave, and this is where the point I'm getting at, then the business has much less incentive to actually do user-centric things. And even if there are some people in the company who are like, let's do things that are good for the users, there's always going to be some bean counter who's like, if we did something that was like 5% shittier for the users, we could make 4% more revenue. And there's like, well, where are they going to go? Why wouldn't we do that? And as I listen, and he talks about capitalism, he has a term called choke point capitalism. Anyway, you can look up Cory Doctorow. He has a million books. He's great. Just watch one of these interviews. But the thought that I kept coming back to was, as a business person, the number one thing I can do to make sure that I am always acting in my customer's best interest and that I am not being a lazy, greedy slob. And let's face it, no matter how principled most of us are, somewhere in us, there's the lazy slob who would be like, yeah, fuck it, I'll take 4% more revenue and I'll screw over my users just a little bit. That's tempting. There's a little devil on your shoulder. The number one thing you can do is to make sure that your customers and your users can always go somewhere else the minute you piss them off. And that's scary because it means you have to wake up every day and continue to fight for your customers, to keep them, continue to earn them. And this goes back to DJI and Caddx, because DJI in many ways is in a position where their users don't have the option to leave. Now, credit to DJI. Of all the products in the world, Cory Doctorow's term is enshittification, and you could go look up what that means. It actually has a very interesting meaning. It doesn't just mean the product got bad. It's a specific process whereby users get locked in and then yada, yada, yada. Honestly, DJI puts out a freaking great product. I would not say that the DJI product is enshittified, but certainly there are ways that DJI would be hungrier if they actually had meaningful competition and if users had a meaningful choice. And in the FPV world, Caddx Walksnail was that choice. And I think now, was it as good? No, but some people left DJI and went to Walksnail. And I think that meant that some days DJI, metaphorically speaking, woke up and went, shit, I gotta give them something today. And they gave us things. And that's good. That's meaningful. All right. Enough of that tangent. Anyway. What do we got here? Atreides, good to see you, dude. Gonna come have some fun. A Tiny Trainer season. I did see that the Tiny Trainer races started. This Saturday is a race. I think it's debatable whether I would make it out. Where are the... Oh, there's too many links from previous years. Atreides, where are the links to the... Why is my internet just randomly... Oh, it's the wrong website. My internet's just randomly not working. Time Trainer Winter Series. Get your ticket now. Date. December 13th, January 17th. Let me look at my calendar. I don't know if I can make it the 15th, but I do have a Tiny Trainer ready to go. December 13th is going to be a no. January 17th. January 17th is a maybe. It sucks to wait that long. I don't know. Maybe. All I can say is maybe. What makes a man turn neutral? We got a super chat here from FPV Candy. Seen a photo Kazi took of you crowd surfing Rampage. Yes, that was a good time. We were being wild and crazy. There we go. This was got to be 3 years ago. It was a good time. I was told afterwards that you're not supposed to crowd surf face down, because then everybody risks putting their hands on your junk. But I was just there, and I was just like, where? I was just supposed to do it backwards. I don't know. Trust fall. It is what it is. Can I still activate my OG vistas that I've been sitting on as backups but haven't opened yet? Yes, of course. Yeah, activate them. And if so, until when? Until forever? I don't know. I mean, like, at some point maybe the server will stop working, but no, I mean, go ahead and activate them. Why not? It doesn't hurt. Flash the firmware. But yeah, as far as I know, that all still works. You're good to go. Here's a $50 super chat from Van Island FPV. Thank you for 50. Oh, they're 50 Canadian dollars. So not quite $50, but Is the US dollar still stronger than the Canadian dollar? Actually, I'm not sure that's still true. Hold on. 1 USD to CAD. 1 United States dollar equals $1.40 Canadian. Okay, so we got a ways to go before we're weaker than the Canadian dollar. How are we doing? 5 years. Oh no, we're doing great. I know the US dollar has been weakening against like the euro. So I didn't want to assume. No, we're doing great. Yeah. We're kicking butt. 5-year high max. How far back does it go?
Have you seen the yen lately? I don't know.
No.
I know this isn't.
What's happening with the yen? The
Chat
dollar
talk.
versus the yen?
Yeah, it's insane. Like, there's
Japanese yen?
a huge bunch of tourist people coming in because it's so cheap.
$1 is 154 yen.
And if you look at like 2013, it was less than 100. So, yeah, the tourism there is crazy. Right
The
now.
U.S. is going to Japan for tourists. 'cause
Yeah, and
it's so
everybody's
cheap.
mad because all the tourists are there doing all kinds of stuff and they can't afford the same stuff. I don't know, just something I thought about because you brought up currency. So
Yeah. I thought of that. I've thought of that. It's like on the one hand, it's tempting to go to countries with a weaker currency because it's like you can live the life for Riley, but then, and in some sense, like on a small scale, I think a lot of the people are glad because you're like, it's like, yes, come spend your money, absolutely, but then eventually it gets to be too much, and then they're like, no, we don't want you to go away. So, and then eventually we get the tourist, the business visas. I mean, then we all come and live over there, but we earn dollars, and then we drive up the rent. I saw a documentary by Andrew Callahan recently about Mexico City and what's going on with U.S. expatriates to Mexico City, driving up the rents, and all the Mexicans are like, get out of here. And I'm like, wow, you don't see it going that way very often. You got a bunch of Mexicans going, yeah, Americans, get out. Like, hey. Somewhere there's a joke. I'm not enough of a comedy writer to write that joke, but the joke is there. The premise for the joke is there. Have you ever tried using the Axisflying thermal camera? I don't know if I've tried the Axisflying thermal camera. What? I don't know if I've tried the Axisflying thermal camera. I've tried the Runcam or Foxy, or I don't remember who makes it, thermal camera. It's pretty shitty, but then for like a $300 thermal camera, what do you expect? It's pretty good for a $300 thermal camera. It's pretty bad if you compare it to like a FLIR Boson for $5,000. So, I mean, okay. I mean, I think a lot of these thermal cameras are made for not hobby use. So look at this eye winking. And in those cases, it's like any thermal capability at all is better than none, even if it's shitty, as long as it's cheap. And, then you're like, fine. 640. What's the 640 resolution? Oh, there you go. The 640 resolution is $1,000. That's actually getting up there. It's still cheap compared to a FLIR. And of course, FLIR is like, you can't export FLIR. It's, what is the term for it? But once you know the term, technology, ITARs. You can't export FLIR. It's an ITARs technology. Whereas this is from China, so ITARs does not apply. 640 by 512, $1,000. That's a good deal. It's a dual camera, so I guess it switches between FPV and that's pretty sexy. Built-in switching. That's pretty sexy. I mean, I'd be real for recreational use only. Yeah, okay. Whatever you say. Sure, buddy. Hey, man, can you go in and buy some beer for me at the liquor store? I promise I'm over 21. I just I can't go in there today. Oh my god. Why does it have two ground and 5-volt pads? That's kind of weird. I guess one. Why wouldn't they do that? Split that out internally. Okay, whatever you say. It's got one camera output and it switches internally with a PWM switcher. That's pretty cool. Why? But why does it? Why do there? That's weird. Why does it have two 5 volts and grounds? That makes no sense. Well, the big thing about the thermal cameras is that the field of view on the lens is usually very narrow. I think the idea is that you want to be like zoomed in, looking at something from far away. So they're not great to fly off of. 9.1 millimeter focal length, 48 degree horizontal. Yeah, so for comparison, a typical FPV camera will have like 110 degrees diagonal. This is 60 degrees diagonal. So it would not be great to fly off of, but it would be possible if you can switch back and forth. That's pretty interesting. I'm not gonna spend $1,000. Like, I'm genuinely curious as to how good this is, but not curious enough to spend $1,000 just to try it out. You know, but that's very interesting. Okay. Thank you, Bennett, for a $5 Canadian super chat. Love your videos. Do you have any idea of a cheap binocular FPV goggle that works well and has a module or analog capability? A cheap, like my go-to for a cheap analog goggle, and it's getting less and less cheap because the world. Grandpa talking about how things were cheaper when he was a kid. I went to the grocery store today, and granted, okay, I did buy like a bottle of wine, so that's a little expensive. And my wife was in a bad mood today it's not important why. It wasn't because of anything I did, but she was grumpy today. So I bought a ribeye steak and brought it home. And I bought like a little frozen thing of shrimp. And I bought some chocolate. So I could come home from the store and be like, So, okay. So it's not like I bought like ramen and lettuce. But I didn't the cart was a third full. And when I checked out, it was like $300. And I was like, did I accidentally just buy way more expensive food than I thought? Or have groceries gotten that expensive? Anyway, cool live stream topic. Man rants about price of groceries. My point is, these goggles used to be cheaper. They're still relatively cheap, but they're insultingly expensive considering that $500 used to be a premium set of goggles. Now it's a budget set. Now it's $300 if you buy it from AliExpress. So some of that is tariffs and import fees and bullshit. But the Skyzone Sky040 is my go-to for a relatively inexpensive, excellent quality analog binocular goggle. $320 from AliExpress. If you're outside the U.S., whatever import fees your country charges, or if you're in the U.S., you get it from someplace like GetFPV for around $500. Yeah. It used to be that $350 was a cheap set of goggles and $500 or $600 was a premium set of goggles. Now, $500 is a cheap set of goggles and $700 is a premium set of goggles. So, I guess that's what it means to be great. I feel so great right now. But there you go. That's what I would do. If you're looking for a inexpensive set of binocular analog goggles, this is just the one to get. I don't think there's another one worth considering, and I'm not even sure there's another one in this price range. You can go try to buy something used, you know. Maybe try to find something used. Yeah, but that's where I would go. There was another question about Skyzone. Oh, yeah, here. As long as we're talking about Skyzone, what do you think of Skyzone and their QC? It's good. Nobody's perfect, but the Skyzone goggles are good quality. Skyzone QC is good. The Skyzone analog module still it has some issues with sync, where you'll get the black screen with the rolling screen. Like, you can switch it to diversity mode and that fixes it. All analog systems that do sync reconstruction and frame combining have that problem to some degree. TBS Fusion even, TBS Fusion has that problem. RapidFire had the problem. RapidFire and TBS Fusion are pretty good about avoiding it. Not perfect. Skyzone is a little worse, I think. But in general, Skyzone QC is as good as anything in the world of FPV. Why do you think there are no longer any non-Chinese good value analog goggles in the $300 to $400 range, like Fatshark? Excuse me. Do you think that Fatshark goggles are not Chinese? Like, what does that phrase non-Chinese mean to you? Do you know where the Fatshark factory is? Hey, guess what? Hold on. Did you know that 7 years ago I went to Shenzhen on the invitation of Fatshark? For the record, I paid my own way. I'm pretty sure I paid my own way. It's been a long time, I'm pretty sure. But if Fatshark is sitting there going, no, we bought your ticket, then I apologize. I think I paid my own, I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% sure. I went to Shenzhen. It's not important.
It's probably safe to say that
I went to Shenzhen. I interviewed Greg French, the owner of Fatshark, and I went to the Fatshark factory where they assemble Fatshark goggles. That's me holding a camera watching these people assemble Fatshark goggles. Huh. Yeah, gosh, it's funny. That doesn't look like an American person, no offense. I guess an American could look like anything. This doesn't look like an American factory. Why, everyone here looks Chinese. Not to racially stereotype. Wow. This Fatshark factory is in China, and everyone working there is Chinese. How about that? Well, yeah, but Fatshark is an American company. Is it? I don't know where they're incorporated. Point being, if you think Fatshark are, like, not Chinese goggles, then we got to figure out what the definition of that means. Because, like, Fatshark may be incorporated in America, but their manufacturing's, like, all in China. Nothing wrong with that. Just saying, like, what does it mean to you? Why do you want a not Chinese goggle? If what you want is a company that is incorporated in the USA, okay, I guess there you go. You still buy Fatshark goggles, though? American-owned? American-owned company, huh? American-owned. Pretty sure... American-owned? American-owned. Let's see. Greg French was the owner of Fatshark. I'm not sure if he still is. Things have been shaken out. 2008 to present. Currently reside majority of the time in Shenzhen, China, according to his LinkedIn. 2008 to present. Shenzhen, Guangdong, China. Huh.
So the original commenter says he just meant that you could repair them. In reality, he was just talking about the fact that he could send them to U.S. and get them repaired, so it has to ship them back to China.
What we want is an American service center. Okay, there we go. We just gotta. My point is, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to pick on you, but my point is that everybody means a different thing. Like Greg French, I have it in my head that he's Canadian or something. And again, it's all very hazy. Like, he lives in China a lot of the time. I'm pretty sure he's married to a Chinese woman. I can tell you he speaks fluent Mandarin. Because I was there and we walked around. Fatshark, anyway. It's all very, you gotta say what you want. American Service Center? Don't think so. I know Rotor Riot was involved in servicing Fatshark stuff at one point. Don't know if they still are. If shit breaks, like HDZero, do they have an American service center? They have an American warehouse. I think HDZero may be one of the ones that is the best at service and American domestic service. I don't know, man. HDZero services in the USA says it's render in it. We have a local guy that services goggles for HDZero. Kudos. That's fantastic. Fatshark used to. I don't know that they still do. They may. I don't know. A lot has changed over there. HDZero does have American manufacturing. I'm not so sure about that. HDZero has NDAA manufacturing, which means not China, but they don't manufacture in America. I know what country they manufacture in, but I'm not sure if I was told that in privacy, so I'm not going to repeat it. But I can tell you that their NDAA stuff, HDZero's NDAA stuff, is not made in America. It is made in another country that is not China and is NDAA compliant. But NDAA doesn't mean American made. Blue UAS means American made, kind of. What's going on here with Riet 9 and Botgrinder's FPV park? Hold on.
Did you see that today?
No. No, I did not. No, I did not.
He posted a... Hold on.
Where did he post it?
Patreon, I think.
Oh, well. I think I'm his... Hang on a second.
Here, I sent a link. Or I sent the image in the Discord.
Okay. What do we got here? Oh, boy. The FPV park is not going to happen. Stop trying to make fetch a thing. Fetch is not a thing. And I will be refunding everyone. Despite my best efforts, this project is not going to happen. One of the biggest hurdles is the adjoining landowner not respecting the right-of-way easement I paid for. I will be going into further detail about that and everything else later in the video. I want to let all of you know who donated what was going on first. I'm sorry to get everyone's hope up. I really wanted this project to happen, but it's just not going to. I'm not going to look for another piece of property. I'm just going to refund everyone. I have it up for sale for the same price I paid for it. We shouldn't do that. You should have it up for sale for whatever the fair market value is. For Jesus Christ, man. If you sell it for what you paid for it, you will lose money because there were closing costs and everything. There's no reason for you to do that. Sell it for the fair market value, which surely is higher than it was 3 years ago when you bought it, I would think, but I don't know. That sucks. Yeah, that sucks. There are so many ways that a project like this can fall apart. It starts with a dream, and a lot of people put cash and sweat equity into it. But despite all that, the odds of success, it was always a long shot. And that sucks. I can tell how upset Bot is from the wording there. I know he really wanted to make this happen. I mean, the thing is, I think he should sell it for the fair market value. And if that results in a profit, he should then do whatever he needs to do to make everybody whole. And if he then hasn't taken a loss, then he should think about what to do with the profit. I suspect that even if he sold it for the fair market value, by the time he finishes making everyone whole and recoups all the costs and losses and expenses, that he still will potentially take a loss. So if he's selling it for exactly what he paid for it, at the very least, he's losing the closing costs of both transactions. And I suspect that if he does that out of some sense of like morality, he's actually taking a much bigger loss than he needs to, which of course is his right and his decision. But yeah, that sucks. That sucks. There you go. That sucks.
I have another piece of news to talk about if you want to.
Yeah. What do you got? What do you got?
Thanks for Mo and the Discord for letting me know about this. We have official leaks of the next Avata.
Oh, I did see that leak. The next Avata.
The FCC's website is broken right now, but I did see 4 hours ago they posted FCC, so it is confirmed to it's not even just like a testing product or a demo. Like it is going to come
from the FCC certs. Well, hope you enjoyed those FCC certs, DJI. It's not going to last much longer. Yeah, it is a. Where is it?
Yeah, the other one is a good picture. Those are function pictures.
Yeah, here we go. It's a 3D drone with a gimbal. So, 360-degree drone with a gimbal. So that's interesting. We've got the 360 sensor, and then it's also gimbaled so it can tilt, which I guess just lets you move the seam line. I'm not really sure. Like, if you tilt the camera, then you're going to see the body of the drone because the drone won't be in the seam line anymore. So that seems bad. Maybe it can, like, tilt up and do FPV mode, and then, I don't know. I love this idea of a 3D drone, or I'm sorry, a 360-degree drone that then in the goggles it acts like it's you could like look around like a gimbal, but it's not really a gimbal. This is something I kind of dreamed about doing way back in the day with analog, which of course you couldn't.
Yeah, if you look at the set of 3 pictures, there's the one with the girl holding it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there, the gimbal looks like it's up, right?
Agree. So it seems like, and it wouldn't make sense for it to be in 360 mode because the back lens would just be looking back at the body of the camera. So it seems like it has like an FPV mode and then like a 360 mode, maybe you would speculate. Yeah.
Yeah, the other one is a guy on a bike, and that looks like it's down. I could be incorrect about that.
Yep. Nope.
So I guess they're saying like, hey, both ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I guess when it's in 360 mode, if you then take a slice of that to make it look like a normal camera, you've got much lower resolution. Well, I don't know if that's true. You've got a seam line right in the middle of where you're flying. That's no good. Yeah. Huh.
So we talked about it a little bit, I think. We've been going for so long, I'm not sure. But did we talk about the anti-gravity? The anti-gravity A1 drone?
That 360 camera, that 360 drone.
Yeah, appears to be some almost direct competition to this.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
Okay.
Amazon, you freaking liar. Amazon is pissing me off lately. I'll search for a product, and Amazon's like, oh yeah, here you go. It's a freaking lie. They don't have that product. They're just showing me adjacent products. Look at this text. Get deals and low prices on anti-gravity A1 drone on Amazon. Okay. This should be illegal. If we lived in a world where regulation was a thing and capitalists didn't just run the government and just squeeze us all for money and laugh as they smoke cigars with $100 bills. If we lived in a different world than that, this would be illegal. To lie about an ad like that. It should be a regulation that anyway. Here we go. Here's the actual search. This should be it's because I've been listening to Cory Doctorow. This should be the first search result, clearly. And you're going to put a sponsored result above it because you got to pay the bills, I guess. But that's not even a link to the anti-gravity A1 drone. It's just a lie. and a waste of my time. Okay, anyway. Anti-gravity A1. 360 drone. 360 degree drone. Yeah, I saw, who did this? I saw reviews of this when it first came out. It's very cool. 360 drone. Hides the drone in the seam line. Very cool. It's a pretty thick seam line, honestly. A lot of these drones try to be as thin as possible to hide this, to make the seam line as thin as possible. It's very cool. And you can just reframe the shot afterwards. That's the interesting part. And the fact that it's 8K. Now, is that two 4K cameras? I'll bet it is. So you've got two 4K cameras. So by the time you actually zoom into a normal field of view, you're not at spectacular resolution, but if you're starting with 4K, that's good. I've done some playing with 360 cameras before. Yeah, and I thought it was very cool how you could play with the field of view. So here's a 360 camera behind a Beast class drone. And you see how we're stabilizing it? That's kind of cool. Let's see. And then here it is on an FPV drone, but I was able to mess with the field of view and make the field of view like much wider than it normally would have been to get this really interesting sense of speed. Good times. Oh, hey, Chopper. Anyway. Yeah. Very cool. Ultimately, not compelling enough for me to, like, actually stick with it. But still very cool. Thank you, WB Hinton, for a $2 super chat. Thanks from Western North Carolina. Thank you, Color1238, for a $5 super chat. I have a TBS Oblivion, but the camera went out. What's a good plug-and-play replacement camera that's not the original Oblivion camera? I mean, from the one hand, like, again, Amazon, you piece of shit. I'm so mad at this. TBS Oblivion at Amazon. I'm so mad about this. And because of the changes that Google made to fucking, you know, the change that Google made where they broke uBlock. So now they changed the way uBlock works so that I can't just right click and block this one thing. Oh, St. Corey, save me. I need an AI image of St. Corey Doctorow to pray to. Everything's just getting worse. TBS Oblivion. See, the thing is, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that this is some oddball camera. I don't know what camera the TBS Oblivion comes with, but I wouldn't be surprised to find out this is some oddball camera that TBS did something proprietary, as they sometimes do, and it doesn't fit like just a standard camera. Maybe it does. But it isn't always. FPV camera, TBS 650 TV line camera. Oh, here we go. Oh, this must be you. This must be you. This is a guy one day ago asking the same question. So that's probably you. It had a Swift 2 in it. Yeah. I mean, honestly, what I would do if I were you, every camera has power, ground, and video, right? It's an analog camera. So I would just buy, Simone Jardine thinks it's a 19 millimeter camera. The plug may not be the same. The pinout may be the same. Just cut the plug off, splice on the wires from your camera. Boom, you're good to go. As far as a drop-in plug-and-play replacement, I don't know what plug comes on the damn thing, so I couldn't tell you what camera's going to fit it. Buy a camera of the same diameter, and then just splice on the wires. That's what I would do.
Pat mentioned, and I feel the need to point out that uBlock Origin still works normal on Firefox. So if you care. Okay.
Then I have to switch to Firefox.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's the best choice in the world, but it's where I've gone because I want actual uBlock.
Yeah. Well, it's tempting. It's tempting. Yeah. That's the nature of enshittification, is you feel trapped, and then you just slowly accept it as things get worse and worse.
There's a browser coming up in the next year, probably.
I'm sorry.
Called...
I shouldn't be dismissive. Like, thank you for trying to help by trying to help me solve a problem that I'm complaining about. I just go like, switch to Firefox, because I know I could switch to Firefox. I don't want to switch to Firefox. I just want things to work and be good. I don't want every 2 years something in my life that was good and helpful and wonderful to slowly just turn into this pile of crap. And then I have to just mourn it. And then I have to transition to something else that will slowly turn into a pile of crap. I'm just like, it's like those old platforming video games where you step on the platform and then, the platform falls away. So you just have to keep jumping from platform to platform to platform as they fall away from you. And if you stop, you fall in the lava. That's what it feels like. Go ahead. You were going to say something about a new browser.
Yeah, I was just going to say I've been following development on a new browser that I think will actually be good, which is Ladybird. So you can't use it yet, but he gives monthly updates, and he's actually building a real browser from scratch. It is not built on top of other frameworks. He's literally been going through every month and showing the safety check tests and all the compatibility tests and different websites that don't work. And he's like, they're getting really close to competing with the good browsers,
Yeah.
But there's just a lot of work to do. But anyway, it's the first promising thing I've seen in a long time for browsers, because everything's just built on top of Chromium.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason. The reason for that is that there's two reasons. And again, Corey talked about this in one of the interviews. There's two reasons for that. One is it's just hard to build a browser, So like Chromium has the sort of engine, and then you just build your browser on top of it, and it does all the rendering. And then also, I believe there are some proprietary tech, like the library that plays back videos. If you have a browser that plays back videos, then it has to use this library that implements this DRM. And it's, you can't crack that. You basically have to use this library, or you just don't play videos in your browser. And that there are sort of technological and licensing and hurdles to implementing your own browser. So that's pretty cool that this guy's doing it all from scratch. That's pretty cool. Maybe someday that will be amazing. Truly independent web browser. Backed by a nonprofit. Yeah.
I've been watching it for a long time, and they've made constant progress every month. So I'm very hopeful on this coming out. And I think there's going to be super, super, super early betas next year, but I think it's going to be at least a year before it's usable.
Hey, that's fine by me. That's very cool. That's very cool. Maybe I'll switch. I like a story. I like a story like that. Or it will capture all the users and then it will unshitify. And then I'll jump onto another frickin' platform and cry. You know what doesn't unshitify? Open source projects. Because they don't make any money anyway.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Yeah, I think they're going semi-open with it.
Yeah.
Okay, I know it'll be on GitHub, but I'm not sure what the license will be.
Thank you for your donation, Shananel9756, and thank you for £10. £10 sterling, said from Deny FPV, who says, I'm here in the UK and I just turned into the dark side DJI. Question is, I bought the DJI N3 goggles with the intention to use them with the O3, but that doesn't work. Yes, those aren't compatible. So I bought the G3. Well, it's a better goggle anyway. Would the N3 ever be compatible with the O3? Deny FPV, the N3 and the G3 are like the same under the hood. They're the same generation of hardware, if you will. Now, I don't know, like, at the circuit board level how identical they are. But, like, the N3 and the G3 are both from the O4 generation, right? And the fact that the G3 is compatible with the O3 suggests to me that from a technical perspective, it would be possible to make the N3 compatible with the O3. However, even if we assume there is no technical reason that they couldn't do that, that doesn't mean that DJI will do that. And they maybe they've decided that for some reason the performance wouldn't be there and they don't want to expose their users. Maybe it has a weaker processor or something, so it doesn't have the performance to do the backwards compatibility. Or maybe they've just decided that they'd rather just segment the market and drive people to the G3 because it makes them more money. I don't know the answer to that. No one can predict in the future whether DJI... The answer is probably that DJI could do it if they wanted to, but whether they will want to do it, no one could predict.
I would also say that historically, we saw backwards compatibility happen sometime shortly after like the release cycle of the new generation. So I personally really feel like if we had seen O3 compatibility, it would have come sometime after the release of the O4.
Yeah.
Versus now.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to take this question. I just saw this, and I think it's a really great question for like two people. But it sparks me. I've been trying to use the Betaflight black box utility to overlay stick movements, but the time seems to be stretched. It'll line up at one point, but drift by the end. How do I fix this? There's a couple possibilities here. If you're using analog DVR, chances are good that the DVR is what's going out of sync, not the black box. Unless you're using the HDZero goggles, or I don't think even the Orca goggles do this right. I'm pretty sure that the HDZero goggles are the only goggle, I think they're the only goggle that correctly records the video when the video gets weak and drops frames. So every other goggle records every complete analog frame that they get. But if the video skips or if the sync pulse gets lost, the DVR simply records nothing. And that means that slowly over time, the DVR, the analog DVR, gets out of sync with, like, say, a GoPro. The HDZero goggle is the only goggle that when there's static on screen, it just records one frame of static. And the HDZero goggle stays correctly synced with reality. And it's why I like to use the HDZero goggle as my primary analog goggle. One of the reasons why is that when I'm making content about analog, the analog DVR doesn't go out of sync. The other possibility is that your flight controller was dropping frames and the black box log is missing frames of data, and that's why the sticks are going out of sync. But basically, here's what you do. Number one is you sync the beginning and you sync the end. And if it's simply that one is slower than the other, like sometimes when you import video into Premiere or whatever, it will misinterpret the frame rate, especially analog video that's like 29.97 frames per second or something instead of 30.0 exactly. So sometimes the video will just come into your editing suite and it'll be slightly short or slightly long, and you stretch it and then it's fine. So you sync the beginning and you sync the end. And if it stays in sync, great. But then if it goes out of sync in the middle, what you have to do, what I would do, what I have done in the past is you just watch the video until it starts to get out of sync. You cut and you stretch until it's back in sync. And you stretch just this little bit. And now it's in sync again. And you watch it till it goes out of sync. And you cut and you stretch. And you basically slice the video into a bunch of little segments and stretch each segment so it's in sync. And it's a gigantic pain in the ass. But that's what you have to do. Something is dropping frames. It's either your black box log or your video is dropping frames, or one is stretched or compressed relative to the other, and all you have to do is, yeah. So that's how you got to approach that. Got a $5 super chat here from Eleanor Crane, who says, I recently bought a 7-inch Croc 7.5 and put an 04 in it. I want to use it with the N3 goggles. Will that beat the range on the 03 plus the V2 goggles and antenna mod? Hard to say. The antenna mod is going to help. I can't say for sure. I will say that the range on the 04 is better than the range on the 03, all else being equal. But the 03 plus the V2 plus an aftermarket antenna, I don't know who's going to win that one. Couldn't say. Sorry. Too many variables. Thank you for $5 from Volcomdork182. That's C-O-M, Comdork, in case you might have misheard that. I have a Tiny Trainer V2 and I want more power while flying freestyle. I was thinking of building a 5-inch. Which frame do you suggest to pair with HDZero? Well, if we take a look at my website, there's a list of freestyle frames that I suggest. And there's a bunch of good choices out there today. I really like these choices. There are some parts of my website that I think are a little out of date, and I'm like, oh, I should really update that. I feel pretty good about this selection of frames, though. So I'll just put that in the chat. Hold on. There you go. And you can check out a freestyle frame and see which one really speaks to you. There's a lot of good choices here, with some different pros and cons. Is the Speedy Bee Mario still super cheap? Oh my god, I cannot believe how inexpensive this frame is. Even to this day, it's $50. That's preposterous. Yeah, so, like, that's what I would tell you to do. Climb to 370. Thank you for... Sorry. Apologize. I was a week ago. More than a week ago. This was Thursday. A week ago this Thursday. I was pulling a big cardboard box full of beef trimmings. So we bought a quarter cow a couple of years ago. We put the quarter cow in the freezer. And as part of that... The butcher, they give you all the steaks and all the cuts of meat, but then there's a whole bunch of just, well, to be honest, fatty tissue. Sorry, vegans. And then, like, that's good stuff. They don't throw it out. That's yours. You paid for it. And so what you do is you get this fatty tissue and you render it, rendering lard, rendering fat. You've probably heard that term. I don't know. You basically, you cook it at low temperature for like 12 hours, 24 hours, all the fat comes out. You separate out the fat. The fat and then you have beautiful beef tallow that you can use to cook with. And I would lean into my chest freezer. I leaned over, and this big cardboard box of trimmings, and it's just about the size of the freezer. It had just fit in there 2 years ago. And chest freezers grow frost, so the box is a little stuck to the walls a little bit. It kind of doesn't want to come out. And I'm tugging on it. I'm leaned into the chest freezer, and I'm yanking on this fucking box. Come out! And which is horrible ergonomics. Lift with your knees, not your back. I was doing the worst thing. And then on like the third tug, something in my back went, no, F you. So like, I was like, I literally couldn't get out of bed the next day. I mean, I did manage to get out of bed because I had to, tend to my needs. But I was so immobile. And now, even now, I'm mostly better. I'm like 95% better. But still, if I shifted my chair just wrong, that muscle that I pulled goes, no, I'm still here. So if you see me wincing, yeah. If you wanted some advice on how to injure your back, it would be lean deep into a chest freezer, grab something heavy, and then yank on it violently, trying to pull it out of the chest freezer. So, DFGA says the cow got its revenge. Listen, I hurt my back. I went, oh, God, oh, I did it. I went down on my knees. I kind of like, oh, I got back up. Oh, I crawled up the stairs. I said to my wife, I hurt my back. I took like 17 ibuprofen, not literally. I took a huge amount of ibuprofen. I got a shot of liquor. And I said, hey, honey, let's go sit on the couch and watch an episode of our TV show. I sipped the liquor. I felt okay. The ibuprofen and the liquor hadn't worn off. The next morning, I was like, oh, I can't get out of bed. I really hurt myself. But in that moment, I was semi-mobile, and I went back to the freezer, and I looked at it, and I was like, I'm gonna get that box out of there. And thankfully, my better angels were like, do not lean into the freezer and try and get that box out. Do not, Joshua, do that. And I was like, fine. And I went like this, and I reached into the freezer with one hand, and I took out one chunk of frozen fat, and I put it in a little cooler that was nearby. And I took out one chunk of frozen fat, and one handful at a time, I took the fat out of the freezer. And then I walked it, I kind of like cobbled it up the stairs, and I started that fat rendering. I was like, screw you. You're not getting the best of me. And then the next morning, I couldn't get out of bed. So the cow did win. It was pure spite. Or like, I am going to render this fat today. If it kills me. And the next morning, my wife came. I'm almost done with this story. The next morning, my wife came in, and I was like, I can't get out of bed. I said, she's like, what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm just trying to figure out how to get upright. And she said, maybe you should just lay in bed and rest. And I was like, you should rest. You're injured. I'm sorry. Wait, there was another question. Climb to 370. Thank you for a $5 super chat. Thanks to your Express LRS tutorial, I now fly my motor glide with it and an RX system with built-in variometer for cheap. All the best. Sunshine, you could not be more right. Thank you so much for that. Those kind words. Climb to 370. This year, thousands of men will die from stubbornness. No, we won't! We finished watching our TV show, and she got up and she went upstairs, and I was like, oh, okay, it's going to take me a second to get up off the couch. And in that moment, I was like, I could finish rendering the fat. I could finish doing that. I was like, well, how am I going to get that box out of the freezer? I bet I could get it out of the freezer if I was careful. I had this thought. I was like, you moron. You've injured. You're so hurt. You don't even know how hurt you are yet, and you're thinking I could get it out of there. I bet I could. And then I just got it out one handful at a time instead of just giving up. And then normally I render it in a slow cooker because it has to. You don't want to burn it. You can't burn it. So it has to be at like the constant low temperature to render but not burn because you have to boil off all the water. But that takes forever because the slow cooker only holds so much. So I was like, I bet if I put some on the stove at a low temperature and then just like let it simmer all night, it'll be fine. So I did. And the next morning it had scorched it. It hadn't like lit it on fire because I was very careful about the temperature, but all the water had boiled off and the whole pot, the slow cooker was fine, but the whole pot of lard that I had put on the stove was ruined because I scorched the fat. And the whole thing was just a horrible waste of effort and stubbornness and petulance. It was so not worth it. It was not worth it. It was the whole thing was a horrible mistake. Oh, thank you for $5. Color 1238. It's a Horizon Hobby Spectrum camera originally. Thanks for trying to help, JB. I'm new to analog. In analog cameras, there are always 3 wires. There's sometimes more than 3 wires, but there's a video wire, a power, and a ground, and that's all you need. You just figure out which of those goes where and solder it to the new plug, and you'll be good to go. How do you hang the drones on the boards behind you? JC Cantrell. JC, these are 3M command hooks, the medium command hook, and then just a rubber band goes around the command hook and loops around the motor. Bob Krause 13, thank you for a $5 super chat. I have the V2 and the G3 goggles, but I want to fly tinywhoops in the house this winter. Would you recommend an analog adapter for the V2s or analog goggles? Well, I mean, since you already have the V2 goggles, you're going to need to buy an analog adapter, and that'll cost a little bit of money, and an analog module. So you're going to be in maybe $100 to $150 to get the V2s to do analog. And that actually seems like an okay price to get into analog. I think that's not bad. The latency is slightly higher, but it's usable. I guess that's what I would do. And the nice thing is that if you buy an analog module like TBS Fusion and later you buy like some analog goggles, you might be able to use that analog module with them. I think that's probably doable.
I mean, I'll just say I raced with them. I raced with them for years. The latency isn't that bad. What you have to remember is when we talk about latency in FPV, there's always complaints about latency, but much of the complaints, I mean, the control link latency complaints aren't, but like the DJI latency and the walkstone latency complaints, OpenIPC, all that stuff are mainly because it's variable. Like that's the issue, right? You go down and up, so there's no consistent way to learn the latency. What you will likely find is that you will forget about the latency once you fly the V2 goggles, the analog, for a while, and then if you get real analog goggles, then you will go back and forth and go, oh my God, I can't believe how much latency there is. Yep. Which is what I did because I didn't even notice. I had a friend come over. He used those goggles. I used a different pair of analog goggles. And I was like, what? What is happening?
Right.
And I switched back and forth. And I was like, I can't even believe how little I noticed that. You just sort of lock into this static latency. People back in the day did crazy racing on much higher latency analog because it's static. So just remember that.
Yeah, valid. I will say that the other thing about racing and latency is that when you're racing on a course, the course is predictable. And if you have consistent latency on a predictable course, you can deal with much higher latency than if the course is unpredictable. Because a predictable course, you'll start to learn based on the latency, I pre-turn now, right? And you'll get a feel for how sort of slidey the drone is because of the latency. As soon as you start doing freestyle stuff, where you're just diving into a gap and you don't know what's on the other side of the gap, that's when latency can come back and bite you. You will need to be more timid because you will not have the reaction time. But if what you're focused on is racing, I mean, obviously racers want the lowest possible latency because it does make you faster to have lower latency. But I think there's more tolerance for higher latency as long as the latency is consistent if you're racing on a predictable course versus just unpredictable freestyle-y stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I think for what it would cost you to get the V2s set up for analog, I think that's probably worth it. Thank you for a super chat from Encenaro. Thank you for $10. Always learning something, and thanks for your help, guys. Appreciate that. CRO DR4SI wants to know whether a foreign citizen on a temporary visit, like a tourist, is allowed to use DJI equipment on U.S. soil after Christmas. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, thanks for spoiling the answer, Blunty.
Sorry, okay, my bad.
Go ahead. Why is the answer yes?
Because stuff has to happen first, basically. So the first thing that will happen is that the date will pass. The NDAA hasn't done the NDAA ordered
the
research
audit
has not. The audit will have not been done, and that means the NDAA bill will roll into effect or whatever. So that means DJI will be placed on the entity list.
And that's can I pause you there?
Yeah.
If I understand, so this law has been passed. Nothing needs to happen. And the law says that if by December 23rd at midnight, the audit hasn't happened, then DJI goes on the entities list. So basically, immediately at 12:01 on the 24th, DJI is on the entities list. No one needs to do anything. That just happens. Is that correct?
That's my understanding. Is yes. I don't think it goes back into committee or anything. It's
okay.
Set.
Continue.
It could. That part I'm not 100% sure on. But I will say if it does go into committee, it will likely go through because it was, like you said, a passed bill that went through and then was valid. So the thing is, the issue that we've recently been discussing, why the ban is a huge issue, is the FCC certifications, and those are going to take time to remove. If they do remove them, they have to go through committees, pitch to the committee to remove them. They have to go through a comment period, and then pull each certification based on the comment period. That's my understanding of how the process works.
Yeah, and so on December 24th at 12:01 a.m., assuming the audit doesn't happen, and at this point, even if someone was like, oh shit, we're going to do this audit, I don't think they could do the audit in the time allotted. I don't think there's enough time to even complete that. But I don't think anyone's going to do it either. So at 12:01 a.m. on December 24th, DJI goes on the entities list. And what that means is that it means many things, but one of the things it means is that they cannot get new FCC certificates. But all of the existing DJI gear, the FCC certificates are still valid. Okay? And the FCC has said that they granted themselves the power to retroactively remove certificates, which they didn't used to have. And they have said that if they do pull the certificates for existing DJI gear, that they will not make it illegal for people who currently have the gear to use it. They will somehow only make it illegal for new stuff to be sold under that cert, which I'm not even sure how they do that. Because as far as I'm aware, FCC certs are, they either have one or you don't, but who the hell knows? So the takeaway is that your gear still has a valid FCC certificate as of December 24th, and it's still legal to use. And even if the FCC did retroactively pull the cert from your specific piece of gear, which they have given themselves the power to do, they have said that they're not sort of insanely suicidal enough to tell everyone that all their gear that they paid for is illegal to use. They've basically said we're not going to do that. So you should be good to go. But the final reason you're good to go is that no one is enforcing this in any way, shape, or form. It's all just political, economic posturing. So even if on December 24th, the FCC said, all DJI equipment is illegal to use, no one will care that you're using a DJI drone unless you're kind of doing something blatant to bring attention to yourself. Like theoretically, if they made a big enough stink about it, I could see customs stopping DJI drones at the border and saying this is not legal to bring into the country. I mean, they are actually already doing that because of the Uyghur Protection Act or whatever the name of it is. I don't know the exact name of the act. Customs has already been blocking DJI drones at the border and saying you can't bring this into the country. That's why DJI stopped offering DJI Care in the United States and stopped shipping shipments into the U.S. So, I mean, Blunty, I don't know. Have you heard of any stories of just tourists bringing DJI drones in who have been told you can't bring that in? I can't think of one. But it's not completely implausible to me that they might do that, especially if this ban goes through.
I don't think, like, if you've got a Huawei phone, I don't think they seize a Huawei phone at the border when you come back in. Like, I doubt this would happen, but it's possible.
It's just that we're in such a weird world where things are happening due to, it feels like political posturing has a weight that it didn't at times in the past. And that if the government seemed to be adopting a posture of DJI bad FDJI, there seems to be more latitude for individual agencies to take initiative to enact the intent of the federal government rather than the strict letter of the law, if you will. And so, 4 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that if the president said, DJI bad, that then someone at customs would be like, hey guys, we got to stop all these DJI drones. Today, it kind of feels like maybe somehow that would happen. I don't know. It's just a sort of a feeling I have. But I think you would be fine. I think technically you would be legal. And even if you weren't legal, I still think you would get away with it. So. I don't know if you've heard. What kind of foreign citizen are you? Don't answer that question. Have you been keeping up with the news? The whole DJI ban thing is not the only thing that's going on here. In good old Freedom Land. Some of the things that are going on here specifically relate to foreign citizens on U.S. soil. So, what brings you to the country? Don't answer any of those questions. It's none of my business. Jason Aviator, thank you for being a patron, Jason. Jason says, I'm taking my drones to Florida, and I thought I'd try to mount them on steel pegboard. You have pegboard behind you. No, I don't. It's not pegboard. What do I use to hang them? Same question that was asked. I'll show a picture since Jason's. 3M command hooks is what I use. Medium. Oh, Amazon. Oh, finally, we actually have the actual product. 3M command hooks, medium. These are the ones I use. And I've just carefully put them on the wall in a pattern. I think it's a 12-inch grid, diagonal spacing. And then you just take a rubber band and you wrap it around the motor so it holds it to the hook. Yep, that's what I use. 2 questions about my drones in one live stream. Isn't that something?
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Big of hands is correct. You clicked his question and then did another question and then didn't go back.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Let me definitely get that. I apologize, Big F Hands. Thank you for a $10 super chat, Big F Hands. Can I use a digital flight controller with an analog system like the Beta FPV brushless flight controller? In general, yes. There's two considerations. One is that the flight controller needs to be able to power the video transmitter. That usually won't be an issue. If you have a 1S drone, then the flight controller needs to have a step-up regulator to make sure the voltage doesn't go too low. But you listed a 2S flight controller.
I think he is asking the opposite question. Can I use a digital FC with an analog system for HD digital quadcopter? And I think there's no OSD chip on that board.
Yeah. So a flight controller that's specifically designed for a digital video transmitter only is not going to have an analog OSD chip. And so you won't be able to have an analog OSD if that's the case. And that's kind of a deal breaker. Like, you could just run the camera direct into the VTX and get video. But the other thing is that the flight controller, a digital flight controller, isn't going to have an integrated analog VTX, so you would need a standalone VTX. It doesn't seem like a good idea. If you have a digital micro drone specifically intended for use with a digital VTX, chances are good that it is not really able to work correctly with an analog system. It might be. Some flight controllers can do either, but many cannot.
Yeah, this one does not have an OSD chip that I see.
Yeah. He says it has a built-in VTX. That's weird. If it has a built-in analog VTX, then it absolutely has a built-in analog OSD chip. So let's just look. Oh, shut the... I'm so mad right now. Analog is lying every time. I'm so mad right now. Okay, fine. It actually linked to the right flight controller. But I don't know. What do we got? That's going to be the Express LRS receiver, I think. Let's look here. This doesn't have an analog VTX built in, I don't think. Yeah, so this is the Express LRS receiver here. There's no other antenna. If it had a digital VTX, if it had an analog VTX built in, then it would have another antenna. It doesn't have another antenna. Therefore, it doesn't have an analog VTX. And we got the gyro, we got the black box chip, we got the MCU, we got the barometer. Here's the ESP chip for the receiver. That's a tiny little Wi-Fi antenna. That's cute. Here's the other side, which is where the ESC lives. There is no OSD chip. No. You really can't use this with analog. You won't have an OSD. You need the OSD in order to know when your battery's about to die and so forth. So I wouldn't use this with analog. Nope, it's not a good choice. Sorry. Sorry for missing your question. Glad we were able to get it. Apologize for that. Oh my goodness. You can use telemetry to tell you when your batteries are low. That's true. You can. I still would want to have the OSD. I don't like it. Volcom Dork, thank you for another $20. Very generous of you. Appreciate it. Most frames don't list HDZero as their camera. Most are labeled as 03 and 04. The HDZero camera is standard 19 millimeter width. It's the same as all analog cameras. You can use an HDZero camera in just about any frame. The reason they list 03 and 04 compatibility is because DJI cameras are weird sizes. So you can assume that basically any FPV frame will support an HDZero camera and an analog camera. And then the frame manufacturers are like, because when the 03 and the 04 came out, many frames didn't fit them correctly because they were a weird size. So then frames started being like, hey guys, we support the 03 too. They don't bother saying that they support analog and HDZero because like they all do. Right? Yeah. The 03 and the 04 are the exception. That's why they're called out. Okay. Chenanel. Oh, I see. Chenanel left a $1 super chat and then left a question in a separate message, so I didn't see the question. The question is, should I pay double the amount for the G3 over the N3 or just go with the N3 using the 04 Air unit? I can't tell you how to spend your money. Should I spend $60,000 on this luxury watch? No, I shouldn't. I don't know. How much money do you have? Right? The G3 is smaller. It has higher frame rate. Like it has some advantages over the N3. Is it worth twice as much? Only you can decide how much your money is worth to you. So
remember, if you're going to have a few drones, that price difference starts to make less and less overall difference in the amount you spend.
Right. Because you buy the goggles once, you buy the drones, and you buy a bunch of drones. That extra $250 is, that's one drone. So. Thank you, Black Guns 12 for 250 rupees. You've been a great help when I was starting 2 to 3 months ago. Keep it up, providing helpful videos for the FPV community. Thank you so much for the kind words. That means a lot. For a plane on INAV, do you know if the RTH loiter radius is different from the normal loiter flight mode? If so, do you know where to change the values individually? CLI has not been kind. The RTH radius is the same as the default radius. Yes. After the INAV finishes its RTH, then it loiters around the home point. It's a standard loiter behavior. Yeah. Oh, pesos. I'm sorry. Not rupees. My bad. I misread the symbol. I don't know. Rupees. Oh, no. Okay. But wait. What peso is that? There we go. It's PH. It's Philippine pesos, I see. Now, okay. To be fair, it's very small on my screen. They're not, I see that they're not the same, but they're also not that different, are they? Right? You gotta. They're okay. Anyway, now imagine that was much smaller, right? Right? Yeah. Look at these two. See how similar those look? Okay. Anyway, I'll stop making excuses. Hey, somebody make a meme of there's no difference, the two pictures, you know, from The Office. I run Fatshark HD02. Is there any reason to upgrade to something newer? Nah. Keep having fun. Save your money. Literally no reason to upgrade. Certainly not for $500, $700. Thank you, McShaky FPV, for being a patron. Analog seems to be making a resurgence. Do you think low latency cameras will continue to be made, or is that still dependent on what security cameras are made? McShaky, I think that analog cameras are still made specifically for FPV. Absolutely. Whether the priority is low latency, I don't know. A lot of the analog gear right now is being made with the Ukraine war in mind. That's just, they're consuming a lot of the analog gear that's being manufactured the world over. Just because they consume thousands and thousands of drones a day, certainly a week. They're just cranking through them. You know, to some degree, I think they're manufacturing their own stuff. They certainly claim that they are. And to some degree, hobby companies are making equipment that's being sold there. And the hobby companies are like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, pretending that it's not being sold there or for that purpose. But a lot of, like, you see more high output, you know, 5 watt, 10 watt video transmitters being made. You see infrared cameras being made that I showed earlier on the stream. Those aren't being made for hobbyists, right? That star is distorting the space-time continuum with its massive gravitational mass, the space-time continuum of the FPV market. And so, you know, manufacturers are still making FPV cameras and racers are still using them. But the times when racers were driving FPV manufacturing and marketing and decision-making, they're not doing that as much as they were. Because this other 500-pound gorilla is in the next room fighting for its life. So thank you so much for that meme. I really appreciate it when someone makes a meme for me that I ask for and I don't have to make it myself. There we go. Oh, so worth it. No one will understand this meme 10,000 years from now. What's the difference between the knockoff Eachine EV800D and the real ones? Are there actually clone EV800Ds? Or are they just Eachine goggles being sold, you know, under a different name? I don't think they're clones. I think they're just Eachine goggles being sold under different names. But I'm not sure enough to say that with confidence. That would just, like, I would bet. But I'm not sure. Eachine goggles are popular enough that it wouldn't surprise me if someone cloned them. So, I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. But I acknowledge your question. Is buying the Skyzone Cobra X V2 straight from China a bad idea? I mean, if you buy anything straight from China now, you have to assume that it will get hit with a tariff. Now, if you buy it, I think the term is DDP. DDP, that means that you prepay the tariff and it's built into the price. And some Chinese stores are saying all tariffs included in the price. But if something is $100 if you buy it from China and it's $200 if you buy it from the US, chances are that price is not DDP. And some Chinese stores will list a price without tariffs, and they won't mention to you, and it's not really their responsibility because, you know, you have to take responsibility. You're the one importing it into your country. But they won't say tariffs included. And so then you buy it, and then you get a bill for 55, I believe it's 55% is the current tariff rate. So that $100 set of goggles might be $155, except, UPS or DHL is going to charge you a processing fee and a handling fee and a storage fee. And so it's actually going to be a $75 fee. So I might just buy it from America and pay twice as much, and at least I know what I'm going to get paid. I know what I'm going to pay.
It really depends where you order from.
Yeah.
Because some places will guarantee you and then ship different ways, and some will just ship normal ways and then you'll pay tariffs.
Yep. You really need to check with the store. But if something is like 50% or 100% cheaper, can it be 100% cheaper? Would that mean it was free?
I think that would be free.
What I mean is if it's $200 in America and $100 in China, is it 50% cheaper?
Yes.
Okay.
Half off.
I don't know, Blunty. I heard that something got 12,000% cheaper. I heard that drug prices got 12,000% cheaper. It surprised me to hear that, since I guess that would mean you would get a refund. You know, they would be paying you to take the drugs.
No, we were just paying so much already.
They got 500% lower.
They had just already gotten 5,000% more expensive.
Let me ask you this, Blunty. Can something get 5,000% more expensive?
Yes.
Then why can't it get... If it gets 5,000% more expensive and then it goes back to its original price, what are you telling me it didn't get 5,000% cheaper?
It's just math, people.
It's just math. That actually... I'm kind of mad because I know that something can't get 5,000% cheaper, but also that logic, like, I'm mad that logic isn't wrong, is wrong. Like, if it got 5,000% more expensive, then it went back to its original price, it must have gotten 5,000% cheaper. Okay, anyway. If something was half the price from China as it was from America, I would assume it was not DDP. It was not, tariffs included. That's
Hey,
all.
there's good feedback. Alex Sweeney says, I bought my headset direct from Skyzone. It shipped some alternative carrier before USPS for last mile. Didn't have to pay anything for import to US. So that's how some of them have been doing it, is they do this weird last carrier, and they just avoid that tariff somehow.
Yep. So sometimes they just sneak it in. And by the way, if you want to, I might take a chance, because that $100 goggle, if it gets hit with a tariff and it gets hit with a processing fee, it's still going to be cheaper than the U.S. one. And there's sometimes it just doesn't get hit with the tariff at all, because they figure out some way to, I don't know. I assume everything's legal. Don't ask, don't tell, right? So.
Also, remember that other than FedEx, I think, you can refuse to pay the tariff when you receive the bill because they're holding the package. I believe FedEx is currently sending the package and then sending you the bill post-package.
But then you don't get your product and the store doesn't refund your money.
Well,
you're out the money.
You're not out the money.
Why? What do you mean?
The store doesn't refund you the money? You didn't get the product.
You refused the product.
I don't know. First of all, does that? I don't think that's the.
First of all, the store doesn't get the product back. A lot of times that stuff is just auctioned off or destroyed. So the store is like, "Hey, buddy, I sent you the product. It got to your... If I'm a store, like Joshua Bardwell, I'm selling product. If I mail something to somebody in Denmark and it gets to Denmark Customs and Denmark Customs says to my customer, you owe me an import fee, and my customer says, nah, and then Denmark Customs destroys the product, as far as I'm concerned, F you, I'm keeping your money. I don't have my product. It's not my fault your country tried to charge you an import fee and you didn't want to pay it. But that's between you and your country's customs, and I'm keeping your money. I don't know. I don't think that's unreasonable.
I'm not sure I wasn't aware they destroy them. I don't think most countries do that. That's my understanding. Because most countries just send it back. That's how the mail system works. Just like a return package.
Yeah, no. Nope. I mean, yes, sometimes that happens. I believe that in America, a lot of the products are held and auctioned off or destroyed. I believe that they are not necessarily returned if you don't pay the. I think that's worthy of some research.
Okay. I guess the way I would say it is, if you ordered a product, they said it wasn't going to give you a tariff, and then you got a tariff, you just refused the tariff, and whatever you need to do, charge back the company. That's what I would do personally.
Yeah. The other thing is that UPS at least, UPS is kind of a bitch about this. DHL is a little bit better, but they all do this. They'll charge you the tariff, but also they'll say, you owe us, we stored it in our warehouse for 4 days. You owe us a storage fee for every day that we held it. And you owe us a processing fee because we had to do all this paperwork. And from what I've heard, the pricing is based on you imported $50,000, $80,000 worth of stuff. You imported 10 pallets of goods. And so we're going to charge you $250 like processing fee. And you're like, whatever, $250, fuck you. It's $80,000 worth of product. Just give me my product, right? But then you import a $100 product and there's a $50 tariff and then there's a $200 processing fee or something. And UPS is like, what? That's just what our processing fee is. But the thing I want to get at is UPS may still come after you. If you say, I don't want to pay the tariff, they're like, fine. But we still handled this paperwork and we still stored it in our warehouse for 4 days. You owe us. And then UPS is like, okay, well, we're not delivering your packages anymore. And UPS is like, you owe us this money. F you. So, like, I don't think it's as simple as, I just don't want to pay it, go away. In every case. In some cases, it's a hassle. Anyway. So, if you can order DDP, do it. Oh, we're all experts in international shipping now. I didn't want to live in this timeline. Gotta finish. We're almost done with the stream, guys. I think the famous Childish Gambino said it best when he said, "This is America." I don't think he was talking about UPS, though. I don't know. I'm not sure I understand that song. Thank you for $10 from Aber the Ham. Good to see you again, buddy. Haven't been flying in a while and missed your face. Thank you so much, Aber. Alex Sweeney, thank you for a $5 super chat. New to the hobby and looking at my own build. Is there a PC part picker of drones? No. Not really. There is a drone part picker. I don't know how, it's not as good as PC part picker because drone parts are not as well defined and interoperable as PC parts. What I recommend you do is find somebody who's done a build and copy their build. Like me, I have a beginner build series. I would recommend you just do my beginner build series. Alexor, thank you for a $5 super chat. What is the best... And by the way, search Joshua Bardwell Beginner Build Series. I was like, oh, I didn't link to it. It's because we're just coming up on the end of the stream. But Joshua Bardwell Beginner Build Series. That's what I would recommend. Excuse me. What's the best 3 or 3.5 inch or 5 inch drone for a beginner? Can you recommend a brand? Buy a bind and fly drone. For a 5 inch. The thing is, first of all, as a beginner, learn to fly in the simulator first. Okay? Learn to fly in the simulator first. Once you can fly pretty good in the simulator, then you might consider trying a real drone. A 3-inch, 3.5-inch, or 5-inch. And then, like, what's a good one for a beginner? It's just a good drone, because now you know how to fly. You don't need a beginner drone. Just just have some good judgment and be able to fly. GepRC Vapor is a good choice. It's not too expensive. For a 3-inch, if you wanted something a little safer, you could get a tinywhoop, like the GepRC Synolog 3-inch. If you want something open prop. Happy Model Crux is a good 3-inch open prop. Happy Model Crux. Yeah. Do you ever try to fly a 3D printed drone frame? Thank you for $2, Rick Sanchez. No. Nope. That's an interesting idea. 3D printed, huh? I should figure that out. I should try that out. Advisory Labs, thank you for a $20 super chat. Hey Joshua, your content has been the cornerstone of our school drone racing team's research. Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. It's so funny when I hear from people and they're like, oh yeah, my whole office watches your videos. My whole school watches your videos. Suffice it to say, I just kind of go down in my basement and I sit in my little room and I make videos, and then I put them out on the internet and I see the view count go up. But it can be, you don't always think about all the, who's watching them. And then sometimes you hear from the people who are watching them and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then sometimes you hear from the people that are watching them and you're like, oh, okay. Well, I guess that's okay too. So, just to be clear, you're the first one. That's cool. That's really cool. Kudos. Squirrely8527. A 3D printed drone? That doesn't make sense. You can't 3D print wires. You can't 3D print circuit boards. You can't 3D print a camera. How would you 3D print a drone? How would you even do that? It would just be a big chunk of plastic. The motors couldn't even turn. Like, even if you did some kind of print in place that let the motor turn, like it breaks loose and it can still turn, it doesn't have any copper in it. It doesn't have magnets in it. What are you going to do? You're going to stop the print and put the motor magnets in? I mean, how would you even 3D print a drone? Guys, use your brains. Use your brains. I'm going to 3D print it and I'm just going to throw it and be like, I'm flying? You're going to use a 3D printer as the frame of the drone, Bad for Life? You can't use a 3D printer as the frame of a drone. It's too big and heavy. Would you just put the motors on the outside of the 3D printer and then it would 3D print while it flies? Guys, you're crazy. You guys are crazy. You're going to use a 3D printer as the frame of a drone. I don't know what you guys are talking about. This is a little silly. You can't 3D print a drone. And you can't use a 3D printer as the frame of a drone. A 3D printed... anyway. You put an extruder on a drone to print with. Now that's cool. You could put a 3D printer on a drone and the drone could fly around and extrude out all the plastic. That's pretty good. Now that makes sense. A 3D printer, that's what you meant. You didn't mean a 3D printer drone. You meant a drone as a 3D printer. You're going to put the 3D printer on the drone and the drone is going to fly around in a very precise pattern and it's going to extrude the plastic. I think that's got potential. That's a great idea. We should try that. All right, well, on that note, on that bombshell, we're going to end the stream. I'll see you guys next Sunday. Happy flying, you guys. Have a great week. And Siadi, wait, Siadi's streaming today. Apparently he's sick, but he's such a wild man. Where's Siadi? Siadi! Hey, buddy. Good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. Everybody go watch Ciati stream. Bye!